Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Understanding the Second Stimulus Bill webinar. Thank you so much for sparing a couple minutes, well, probably like 60 minutes, and that way we can give you the information that we have on hand for what is coming your way. Thank you again so much for joining today's webinar. I just want to go ahead and say hi to everybody that is watching us through the webinar and also through our social media. Thank you so much for connecting today. We're gonna go ahead and try to answer all of your questions and also provide you all the most accurate information. But again, what is available on us. Welcome everybody. Your El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we both are gonna be sharing this information and answering all of your questions. So thank you so much, Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber, for doing this with us. Thank you so much, Sarina Laura Davidson, for joining us. Let me go back to the next one. As you know, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is turning 30 years. We're not babies anymore. We've been here for a very long time, assisting our business community from zero to forever and beyond. So we are proud and happy to be active for already 30 years. And our vision of the Hispanic Chamber is to continue to be the core component of El Paso region in foresting entrepreneurial economic development, where our existing companies are growing, where our entrepreneurs are reaching new horizons, and where our small minority and women-owned businesses are thriving and outpacing all other markets. That is our vision. Our vision is to become your corner people, and that way all of your business dream can come true. And the benefits of being part of a chamber, you may be asking, what is the benefit? What am I can do it by myself. We totally know that you can do it by yourself, but there is nothing wrong on having a back team, right? A corner of people that you can look, and go for them to answers. And we would love for us to be that corner people, your backup team. So the benefit of the chamber, as you know, there are networking events to keep businesses connected, is the business development through our webinar trainings, and sessions, and we can keep you updated for whatever is happening at the business industry, at the business level. And the advocacy team, there is always, trying to get you the piece of the pie of what is happening at the city, state, and federal levels. And of course, give you access to finance capital to support the starting business or the expansion of your business. And we are proud, the Hispanic Chamber, El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is proud to in-house the ETA centers. We have the Women's Business Water Center. We've been 20 years with us already, and the Women's Business Center is a joint partnership with the Hispanic Chamber through the Small Business Administration. And they're the ones that assist in baby businesses under 3 years with license permits and anything you need, to establish your business. We also in-house the MBDA Business Center, funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce and operating here at the Hispanic Chamber. And the MBDA can go ahead and assist you if you already have 3 years and you're planning into new projects, you want to open your horizons, you want to do something different, then of course the MBDA can go ahead and assist you and also add value to your company through the government certifications. And that way you can start working with the government as well. And we also have the MWDC, funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce, and again, operating here at the Hispanic Chamber. And we're proud to have the MWDC Center in case your business needs just another arm, another offices where you can go ahead and operate your business. And all this is available here at your Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This is a little bit just to let you know that the Hispanic Chamber is in the map and growing. And we are growing only because of your support, only because you are opening your business, making your dreams come true and allowing us to be in partnership, obviously, with your business. So thank you so much, El Paso, for, adopting us and for, become partners. Thank you so much. And today it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Serena Laura Davidson. She is from Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and she's the Special Events Manager. How are you today, Mrs. Serena?
I'm good, Ms. Frida. Thank you so much for introducing me. And I'm so excited to do this webinar with the El Paso Hispanic Chamber. For everybody that's tuning in with us, a little fun fact. My mom actually is the CEO of the El Paso Hispanic Chamber, and I now work with the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber. So there is a lot of partnership involved, of course, with both of our two organizations. And the coolest part that I love is, as Frida just went over the ETA centers that the El Paso Hispanic Chamber has, although our Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber does not, we do work so closely with EPHCC that we're able to do that business connection. So if you are on this webinar today with us or online on Facebook or YouTube, and you're interested in any of those ETA centers and you think that can help you in your business, please feel free to let me know as your Fort Worth contact, and I can definitely get you connected with Frida and the team at the El Paso Hispanic Chamber to make your business even more successful than it already is. But we're excited to do this partnership today with this webinar. I know that there's a lot of information out there, so we definitely want to just kind of do an over sense of, what's to come and how to prepare for that. We all know that, laws are always changing, and especially with the first round of the stimulus bill, there was a lot of changes with that even after it was approved. So everything that we're going over today is with what's the information that's been put out to us so far. So we definitely just want to help you get prepared and kind of understand on what's to come. But Frida, I'm going to let you take it away so we can get started on that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mrs. Serena. And absolutely, just like Mrs. Serena said, this is the information that we have in handy. A lot of people can say like, hey, is this premature? Is this happening right now? What is going on? This is information for you to prepare, for you to say, okay, hold on, this is coming my way. What I need in order for me to take advantage of what is there for my business. So grab a piece of paper, take some notes, and answer your questions. I just want to go ahead and let you know that if you have a couple questions that you want to go ahead and submit, you can do it through the chat. We're going to have a Q&A session all the way in the end, and that way you can, probably we may answer your questions on the presentation, but if it's not very clarified, just go ahead and submit it on the Q&A, and the chat box, and that way we can go ahead and take care of you at the end of the presentation. Again, our speakers, Serena Laura Davidson, and myself, Frida Rodiles, a business development specialist for the WBBC COVID response team. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share now the other presentation that we have for you. So as you know, the understanding the second stimulus package. As you know, this is still an ongoing conversation between the Congress, the presidents, the Senate, SBA. It's a lot of parties involved, and they're still working on the programs, and the details and the applications on, and all the paperwork that you guys are gonna have to be submitting, but as right now, this is more or less when they already like the basic of the program. So that's what we want to give you today. This is like understanding the second stimulus package 101, right? This might change at any time, but just keep tuned to the Hispanic Chamber in Fort Worth and here in El Paso, and that way we can keep you updated. The best way to update your information and to receive any notification from any changes is by following us on social media. Please follow us on Facebook, follow us on our website, and as soon as something new comes up, immediately we will go ahead and do it on social media. And that way, of course, create another webinar just to keep you updated and give you the opportunity to ask questions. What is coming in the second stimulus package? This is the second stimulus. You remember the CARES Act was approved. The first round was approved when everything started back in March, right? This is the second round going to 2021, okay? As the pandemic persists, the government's still taking care of us. So they say we still have to provide, some stimulus, some protection, some support to the small businesses. So that's what this is their proposal, right? This is what the bill is included. On December 21, 2020, Congress passed the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplement Appropriations Act 2021 to provide more than $2.3 trillion in emergency assistance for individuals, family, nonprofit, and businesses impacted by the COVID pandemic. As you can tell, this is impacted by the COVID pandemic. Believe it or not, and thanks God, there are a lot of businesses that have not been impacted by COVID, but the contrary, their business grow. So this is only for businesses that have been negative impacted by the COVID pandemic. What is going to be included in the second stimulus package is a $5,000. It's a $5,000 page bill. Okay, it was a huge package, but this is what is important for the business community. So the second stimulus package includes the stimulus checks for individuals and families, the unemployment benefits that it includes two different programs, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. Also include the small businesses loans, which includes the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, well known as the EIDL, and also includes a cash advance EIDL grant and the Paycheck Protection Program, well known as a PPP. And also extended and created a new one for the grants for the theaters and other live venues. This is what we're going to be covering on this webinar, giving you the basic information that we have in hand, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Ms. Sarina, Mrs. Davidson, and that way she can go ahead and explain you what is coming for the stimulus check payments.
Thank you, Frida. Now, I know stimulus checks are one of the hot topics, of course, all across the nation. I see it all over social media and so forth. So obviously with the first signing of the second stimulus package, there was the approval of $600 per individual for stimulus checks, and that eligible families would receive an additional $600 per dependent. Now, individuals that make more than $75,000 a year would not receive a stimulus check. So if you meet that $75,000 threshold, then you will receive one. If you are above that threshold, you will not. And the threshold for couples filing is $150,000. So if you are a couple and you filed your taxes and you met that $150,000 threshold, unfortunately or you're above that threshold, unfortunately, you will not receive a stimulus check, but if you are under that threshold, you will. Now, those who filed their 2019 tax returns will receive their money automatically. If you did receive your first stimulus check the first go around, it's going to be the same process as long as you had your direct deposit information on file. It's going to end up right in your account again. I did watch a video earlier this morning where Congress was in session debating the new $2,000 stimulus check. I'm sure that's another hot conversation going on, but just know that is not finalized by any means. That is still going through all of our legislation process in order to get approved. And if it does get approved, then the way that this would work, let's say that it does, you would receive that $600 stimulus check. And then once that is complete, then that second round of funding, if that were to be approved for the $2,000 stimulus check, then you would receive $1,400 since you already received $600 already. So it's going to be split up into two payments if that does get approved. Like I said earlier today, I know Congress was still debating all of that in session. So we should hopefully hear an answer by the end of this week in terms of what they decide if it gets passed or not. So keep doing what you're doing. And I just recommend, if you're really waiting on that $600 stimulus check, that it should be here in the next few weeks as soon as people start to go back to office after the holidays. And the next slide, Frida. And then we get to all of the unemployment benefits. So I know this has been a hard hitter this year as well, with so many of our businesses affected by the pandemic and with so many unemployed. So part of the stimulus bill that was passed would also include the unemployment benefits continuing. So you would receive an additional $300 weekly federal enhancement, I can't speak today, for 11 weeks. So through the end of December through March 14th is when those benefits would occur. And then the agreement calls for extensions for the two other pandemic unemployment programs that were created in the CARES Act back in March. So those two programs were the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and then the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. So those two were in the original bill for the CARES Act back in March. Those two are continuing into this next stimulus package that was approved, and those benefits will continue. However, they are only going to continue until March 14th. So both programs are going to be closed to new applicants on March 14th, but they will continue through April 5th for the existing applicants that had not reached their maximum of 50 weeks. And then I'm going to give this back to Frida on the small business loan. She's going to go back into all of the Paycheck Protection Program, which is what many of our businesses have qualified or applied for, as well as the EIDL grant program. Frida, we cannot hear you. Can you redo your mic? I still cannot hear you. If you are listening in and on the comments, are you able to hear her?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Oh my God, can you believe it? Technology sometimes is not as it's supposed to be, right? I mean, sometimes he's my friend and sometimes he doesn't want to be my friend. But I'm glad you can hear me now. Mrs. Davison, thank you so much for sharing that information. And again, if you have any question about the unemployment benefits and the stimulus check payment, go ahead and submit your question in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get back to you at the end of the presentation. So let's go ahead and dive into the PPP and the EIDL. And I just want to go ahead and emphasize on this. Since through the whole year, as a business development specialist, we have I receive a lot of calls and emails and walk-ins saying, my business is being hurt. My business being, through the very ill with this pandemic. But when we ask them, are you registered? What is your business structure? And they're like, no, we don't have, I haven't registered. I do nails in my house, or I do these, on the side, but I haven't registered, but this is the way I support my family. I just want to go ahead and emphasize, this pandemic is a learning experience, right? You have to register your business in order to go ahead and claim for any of the benefits with the government. So if your business has not been registered with the city, with the state, you haven't not have your registration done, please go ahead and call your Hispanic chamber. And that way we can go ahead and guide you into where to submit that. We pray that we never had a pandemic ever again or any other disaster, but in case it happens, as you having your business registered, you will be able to get benefits from the government. Okay, so please call your Hispanic chamber, and that way we can help you register your business. But let's go ahead and dive into the Paycheck Protection Program. As you know, back in March, the first round was a success. A lot of businesses were able to support their businesses, their salaries, their employees, keep their employees, under their payroll. And it was a great program, but they had a little bit of issues. So now in the second round, SBA decided to do a little bit of changes, and we're gonna go ahead and give you those changes. Part of the small, part of those changes is now the small businesses as nonprofit under the 501c6, sole proprietorships, independent contracts who have accessed their initial PP loans will be eligible to apply for the PPP. Okay, so if you're a nonprofit and you have your 501c6, then you can go ahead and apply. But the thing here is that you have to already exhaust your initial PPP. Believe it or not, we also have a lot of businesses, they haven't touched the money because they don't want to own it, because they don't know how to use it. So they apply for it, they got it into their bank accounts, and they only put it in savings accounts, just to have a safety nest. But if you have not used it and you have not submitted your PP forgiveness application, within the cover period, then you're not going to be able to submit for the second round, because that means that you haven't used the first PPP, you haven't submitted the forgiveness, so you have not exhausted that money. So you cannot ask for a second round because you haven't used the first one. I just want to go ahead and clarify that in order to apply for the second PP, you have to already exhaust the first round if you got it. The program will make new loans through March 31st, 2021, or until the new funding is exhausted. So the program is not available as yet. This should be available for the next couple of weeks, for hopefully by the middle of January, but just to let you know, these might end on March 31st or until we run out of funds. Also, the PPP $35 billion were provided to the PP funds are only reserved for first-time loan recipients, okay? So only for the first-time recipients. If this is your second time, what I understand by this is if it is gonna be your second time, you wanna do it as quickly as possible. As soon as the program is open, go ahead and submit, because $35 billion are only reserved for first-time applicants, okay? The rest of the money is gonna be for the second ones. So you just wanna go ahead and submit it as soon as the program is available. And in case of PPP, in case you have any debt for the PPP, the interest rate will be at 1%, okay? What's new for the Paycheck Protection Program? let me give you a little bit more updates. The simplified forgiveness, that's a new thing. Simplified forgiveness application process for the PPP loans of $150,000 or less. The application will be similar to the 3508S or safe harbor by the FTE and salary requirements. Let me explain this to you. So if your loan is lower than $150,000, the forgiveness application will be very simple. If you prove that you use 60% on your payroll and 40% for other stuff, for eligible other stuff, then you can go ahead and use the similar application as a 3508S. I just want to go ahead and confirm from the first round, we had 3 forgiveness applications. We had the 3508 EZ, we had the regular 3508, and then the 3508S. So if your loan is lower than 150, you might be using something similar to the 3508S, which is like 1 page. And that way you can go ahead and submit the forgiveness application. Again, if you haven't made any changes on your salary, if full-time equivalent employees, then it should be very simple. Also, what is inside of the program is the EIDL grant. For me, this is something very unique, very special, because I have seen it from my clients. Or, hey, I apply for the PPP. They say that as long as I use the 60%, I should be able to not to pay anything back, but I have $1,000 in debt. At the first round, if you apply for the EIDL and you apply for the cash advance and you got $1,000 per employee, the limit was $10,000, and you got the $10,000, or you got $1,000. And you also got the PPP, you will get forgiven for the PPP, but you will have to pay the cash advance, which was $1,000. On this second round, the bill says that you are not gonna have to pay the cash advance, the EIDL cash advance as part of your PPP, okay? So this also applies for the other PPP for the first round. So if you have any debt from the first round of PPP that included that EIDL grant, you don't have to pay it back. You just have to go ahead and call your lender and saying that because of the second bill that you don't have to pay the cash advance from the EIDL that it was deducted from your PPP, and they will make the changes, okay? But again, you have to go back to your lender and let them know that, you know, they have to make the fix. The deduction forgiveness expenses. The deductions are now allowed for expenses paid with process of forgiveness PP loans. And forgiveness PP loans not treated as taxable income. This is another thing. The PPP now is going to be tax deductible. But again, you will want to go ahead and come back to your CPA on that. More updates on the Paycheck Protection Program. Again, the tax treatment. The new law overturns the IRS ruling and provides that regular business expenses paid for with PP loan process shall be deductible for tax purposes. Applies to past and future loans for the first round and the second round. And then also the bill explained that expanded lease expenses qualifying for forgiveness. Remember, so you have 60% that you have to use on payroll, on salary and your business and your owner's compensation. But you have the other 40% that you have to use for mortgage interest, you know, for other bills. And now they expanded these to operation expenses, supplier costs, worker protection expenses, and covered property damages costs. So let me go ahead and explain it. Let me just take over here my notes. So if your work protection expenses defined as operating or capital expenditures to comply with public health guidance related, okay? So the worker protection expense, if you need to buy some PPE protective, some shields to protect your client, between your client and your employee, or any medical expenses, you can go ahead and put it on the worker protection expenses. For operation expenses, if you're a restaurant and you need to buy inventory, you can also use it for that. For the supplier costs, if you have to pay your suppliers, you can go ahead and use that money as well. And cover property damages costs. If your property was damaged, you know, because of what the city is going through, you know, somebody broke a window, somebody, you know, tried to damage your property, you can also use a 40% for that as well. The loan forgiveness reduction, if you also receive, this is what I said about the EIDL grant. If you also receive an EIDL grant, your PP loan forgiveness will no longer be reduced by the amount of the grant. Again, if you receive a cash advance from 1,000, 5,000, and you receive PPP and you submit the forgiveness application, but you have to still pay 1,000 because of the new bill. No pass or new PP loans that is related to the cash advance and the EIDL, you will have to pay it. That will be forgiven as well. The loan forgiveness period is still the same. You have between 8 and 24 weeks to submit the paperwork or to access the funds of the PPP. Simplify application. Again, if your loan is lower than $150,000, your application will be one page and very easy if you did not make any changes on your salary and owner compensation. You are eligible for a second draw loan if you have exhausted your first PP loan. Okay, again, you have to prove that you already use it. And how are you gonna do it? By applying for the forgiveness. And also you have to take in consideration that the business, in order to apply for the second round of PPP, you have to have less than 300 employees, okay? And the reason why we put the W-2 is because employee under your payroll are considered as W-2s. You cannot submit a 1099s. You cannot be like, oh, it was my cousin and I paid him on cash. No, it has to be W-2s. That is what's considered under your payroll, okay? And again, you have to report it to the IRS. Businesses that have experienced a greater than 25% reduction in gross during the first, second, third, or fourth quarter in 2020 relative to the same quarter in 2029. For example, if, all this happened in March, so it's January, February, March, April, May, and June. That is the first quarter, right? So we will have to compare that first quarter into the quarter of 2019 when everything was beautiful and everything was, going well. We're gonna compare between 2019, the first quarter, into 2020, first quarter, and see that was a 25% reduction in gross. And if you had a loss of 25%, then you may qualify for the PPP loan, okay? But we are gonna compare. The loan may not exceed $2 million. Before it was a little bit more, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like $10 million. Now it's only gonna be limited to $2 million. And the good news also about this new second round of PPP is that if your business was open in February 15 of 2020, you also may apply, okay? So before it was like on 2019, but now because we're going to 2021, businesses that open in since February 15, 2020 may apply for the second round of PPP, okay? Again, you just have to prove, and I will give you the list of documentation that you will have to prove right now. So in order to apply for the PP loan, you will need the following items: legal business name, address, and phone number. Business tax identification and social security number. Tax return from 2019 and 2018 if available. Payroll report from 2019 to help verify the amount you are requesting. And I'm gonna show you how to do the calculations in a minute. Documentation showing the legal structure of your business. So proprietorship, LLC, partnership, or corporation. Some demonstration of how COVID-19 has impacted your business. Again, if you make more money because of the pandemic, you may not apply for the PPP. This is only for people that experience a loss, okay? And again, check with your lender for a specific application requirements. Again, the PPP is not something that you're gonna apply through the SBA. The SBA gave power to the lenders, banks, credit unions, and other specific financial lenders to submit the PPP, okay? So as soon as this program is available, my advice to you is just go ahead and call your primary financial institution in order to submit the application. Again, not through the SBA.gov, it's gonna be through the lenders. And they might have other documents they're gonna require, okay? So you may want to check with them. Also the PP, what they call the PPP 2.0 loan amount, you can make these calculations. Let me just go ahead. The loan amounts are again limited to 2.5 times the average monthly for 2019 payroll costs, okay? Still limited to $2 million. If you made $3 million in salary, we're gonna only use the 2 million, right? So 2.5 average monthly of 2019 payroll costs. And this is another good thing, another change for the PPP. If your business is in the food industry, restaurants, food trucks, bars, in the food and accommodation services, by the NAICS Code 72, small businesses may receive loans up to 3.5 the average monthly of 2019 payroll costs. So again, because we know the social gathering restriction and the government knows that the restaurants have to close and limit the capacity, to serve, they are being very injured as well. So they make a little bit of an extension and let them multiply, the average monthly income of 2019 by 3.5. Okay. And you can submit your calculation like this. For example, calculation 2019 payroll times 2.5 or 3.5 if you're in the food industry, and they divide it by 12 months, and that is how much your PP loan will be approved for. Okay. So in that way you can make a little bit, you can use January and then multiply what you made on January for 2.5 and then divide it by 12, and this is how much your loan will be. And again, I know it's a lot of information, but we're gonna go ahead and answer all of your questions again. And if you have any question that you're like, Frida, you speak too fast, or I have this question, you may also call your El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we can, very relaxed, explain the whole program again. Okay, I know I only have an hour to explain this to you. That's why I'm like this. Okay, but if you have any question, any doubt, please by all means call your Hispanic Chamber and we can go ahead and give you more information with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and the amount of the loan that can be forgiven includes again the 8 weeks and 24 weeks after origination. Okay, that is not gonna change. And then you can claim the payroll costs. That is this is on the entire PPP. Payroll costs 60%. Qualifying mortgage interest or rate obligations 40%. Coverage utility costs inside of the 40%. Coverage operation costs 40%. Coverage property damages inside of the 40%. Supplier costs 40%. Covered worker protection expenditures 40%. You might think like it's a life of 40%. Well, this program is designed to help you keep your employees, okay? So they give you a little bit of window of how to use 40%, but 60% in order to be forgiven the whole amount, it have to be used on payroll, okay? The 40% rule is still applies, doesn't change. So that was a PPP, okay? A lot of changes, but again, if any question, just go ahead and give us a call and we can walk you through the whole process. But now let's go ahead and talk about the economic injury disaster loan. That program has not been closed, okay? That program is still, as we speak, available for you to apply. However, the SBA provided up to $2 million in disasters assistance to businesses, and more than, I believe it was like $20 million was moved to this program, okay? So this program, what I like to tell my clients, and that way they can understand a little bit better, is similar to a mortgage loan. You pay it in 30 years. The interest rate for a business loan as 4%, as lowers, cannot exceed 4%. Usually it's 3.75%, is very good for a business loan. And then the max loan amount will be the $2 million. And then your first payment, it will be deducted by the SBA. It will be explained by the SBA depending on when did you apply. Okay, but this money, can you use it for payroll? You can use it for any of your business needs to keep your business operating, okay? That is still available for you to apply. What is new is that the new law reopens a $10,000 grant program. Remember, the cash advance, they access the funds, they closed the program probably 4 or 3 months ago. But now the bill proposed to reopen then by giving $10,000 to business that qualify, more or less like $1,000 per employee. The grant will be given to businesses with less than 300 employees, businesses that have experienced a 30% reduction in gross, within the 8 weeks period from March 2nd to December 31st of 2020 compared back to the period before March the 2nd. If you receive a grant that is less than $10,000, you can apply to receive the difference. Let me explain this because I think this is pretty cool. So if you apply for the cash advance on the item and you apply for the $10,000, that was the max, but they only give you $8,000, then now you can go ahead and apply for the cash advance and ask for the other $2,000. You're not going to be able to apply for the $10,000 all over again. You may apply for the difference. If they give you the $10,000 on the first round, you might not apply for this one. But if you did apply it and they only give you a portion of the $10,000, you can go ahead and apply, and that way they can give you what the difference between what they give you in the first one and what they can give you in the second round, okay? So go ahead and apply if you receive only a portion or if you didn't receive anything. And now, Serena, I'm going to give a break to our viewers because I know I can, get a little bit like I Frida, yeah. So Mrs. Davidson, go ahead and explain the additional programs included on the second stimulus package, please.
Thank you, Frida. I know this is a lot of information, guys, and I see the questions coming in. So we will definitely address those questions once we get through this. And then, of course, both of our chambers are here as a point of contact to help you. But some of the additional programs that are included in this stimulus bill is the Employee Retention Tax Credit. Now, Frida and I are not tax experts, so we 100% recommend going to your financial institution, your CPA, your accountant, whatever it may be, to really help you understand, because every business is going to be a case-by-case synopsis. So make sure that you are going to, your CPAs, your accountants, and so forth. But part of the stimulus package was the Employee Retention Tax Credit, which is now extended through July 1st of 2021. And this also increases your fully refundable portion of the qualified wages from 50% to 70%. This also includes the employers are able to take the Employee Retention Tax Credit and participate in the PPP. So this is something that has not been done before. Again, please go to your CPAs and accountants to really help understand what this means for you and your business in terms of your income and expenses and so forth. Now, when it comes to another program part of the stimulus bill, it's called the extension of the paid leave credits. So this extends the refundable payroll tax credits through March 31st, 2021, and the mandate ends this week, really, on December 31st of 2020. But the owners can still take advantage of that tax credit until March 31st. So again, this mandate ends this week on the 31st at the end of the 2020 year. We're hoping 2021 is much better. So those tax credits are going to be expanded through March 31st. This also allows the self-employed individuals to use their average daily self-employment income from 2019 rather than 2020. So this is a huge surplus, really, because this will really show, the loss or gain between 2019 and 2020 when it comes to your tax credits. So again, this is important information, and we 100% recommend, working with your accountants, your CPAs, your financial institutions to really understand your case-by-case scenario.
Okay, we have one more slide.
And last but not least, this is something exciting because I know that we have a few members for both chambers on here today. Grants for theaters and other live venues. We all know that the entertainment industry took an enormous hit this year, 2020. Being an event planner myself, we know that all too well. So part of the new stimulus package that's been approved does include funding for entertainment venues. So this law created $15 billion in a grant program for the following. So this is eligible for live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performing arts organization or operators, museum operators, motion picture theater operators, or talent representatives that have experienced at least a 25% drop in revenue. Now, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people applying for this. So this is where I suggest to you to gather your paperwork, make sure you have everything that you need. I know that Frida went over a bullet point list earlier on terms of documentation that is needed, and start working to find your SBA approved lenders. Those are going to be your financial institutions. If you are with the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber, we have a list of them that are members that work with us so closely on all of this. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to provide you with that list. But this is going to be so important for you to kind of be first in the pipeline for this $15 billion grant program if you fall within this industry. The grants are going to be equal to the lesser of $20 million or 45% of your gross earned revenue in 2019. And the grant must be used for the specified expenses such as payroll costs, rent, utilities, and PPE. So again, like I said, reach out to us if you really need a connection to a financial institution. We do have a list for the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber, and I know the El Paso Hispanic Chamber has one as well. And we work with so many financial institutions that they are more than willing to help you. And one of the most important relationships you'll have as a business owner is with your financial institution. So that's what we are here for. But we have some questions that have come in, Frida. So I think we can just go back and forth and kind of get these answered.
Absolutely.
Pull them up on my end so I can see them here. I know that we had a few folks asking for the presentation afterwards. We can certainly make that happen and send that out to everybody. I know, again, this is a lot of information that we've really put out there, and it's going to be ever evolving as the coming weeks come up. But let's go to the first question on our Q&A here. This question comes from Paul Padilla. Paul Padilla is actually one of our board members for the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber. He is with Multitech Engineering. So Paul is asking, will the new PPP program be extended to previous recipients? The answer is yes, Paul. That is a simple answer, yes. And this is going to be extended to previous recipients. This is going to involve, if you've already applied for that first round and then you exhausted all of your income that you got from that first round, you can still apply for that second round of funding.
Right.
Now, the second question, again, is from Paul. This one, Frida, I'm going to let you answer this one. It says, will the new PPP program have the same forgiveness opportunities?
Yes, like I said at the beginning, the 60-40 percentage applies, rule still applies. So let me just read it. Will the new PPP program have the same forgiveness opportunities? Yes, as long as you 60% on payroll, as long as you use the 60% from your whole 100, they give you $1,000 and you use 60% of that on payroll, you may submit the forgiveness application and forgive all the amount. But if you use, as a business development specialist, I always like to tell my clients, if you can use 65%, and that way we can be on the safe side. Okay, don't be very close to the 60 because it could be 59, but if it's not 60, the lenders may say no, and then you will have to pay something back. And the purpose of this loan is that way you don't have to pay it back. It has been created for you to not pay it back. So as long as you use 60% on payroll, then you should be good to go.
Awesome. And our next question we have from Juan Delgado. He's asking, how can I apply for the PPP and EIDL? I love this question because this is obviously the first step.
Yes. Go ahead. Yeah. So for how can I apply for the PPP and the EIDL? Great question. I mean, the money's there. Don't think, I have a lot of clients saying, no, I'm going to let somebody else have it. No. If you be negative 25% on your business, you should get your piece of the pie. Okay. There is plenty for everybody. So, I mean, it's kind for you to think like that, but what about you? Okay. So the PPP is through the lenders. So, and the EIDL is through the SBA.gov. Okay, the PPP lenders, EIDL, and the cash advance through the SBA.gov.
I love that. So PPP through the lenders. If you need, like I said, lender recommendation, feel free to reach out to Frida or myself. We can help you with both of our respective chamber membership rosters. And then the EIDL will go strictly through SBA.gov. I will tell everybody I did have a quick email communication with one of our Dallas-Fort Worth representatives from SBA this morning. Just asking some questions just so we could be better prepared for you guys today. And most of them are not going to be back in office until this coming Monday, the 4th. And once that happens, they typically have a 10-day time span where they are actually allowed to come up with all of the new policies and so forth for the program rollout. So I know that this bill was passed. I know that, all of this stuff is going to be coming out. But in order for that pipeline to be open for application, we do have to wait on the SBA to get all of those policies for program rollouts included and open. So that's where, staying connected to your respective chambers is really going to be beneficial to you because we're kind of the middleman. So as long as we know everything that is going on from SBA down, then we're able to trickle that out to all of our membership and give you that additional green light of like, okay, the pipeline's open and start applying today. So please be sure to, stay in touch with all of us on all of that. Now let's go to the next question, Frida.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I have Anonymous. It says, if we use all of our first PPP, do we need to apply for the forgiveness before we applying for the second PPP? The answer is yes. Remember, in order to apply for this second round of PPP, you need to be exhausted your first PPP round. So if you have not exhausted, and that is by submitting the forgiveness application, get it processed, and the lenders already close your case, by, if I have to say it like that, then you can go ahead and apply for the second round. But if you had not submitted the PPP forgiveness, then your PPP is still pending, and if you're not submitting within the time limit, then you might have to pay the whole amount. So my advice to you, if you have not submitted the PPP forgiveness application for the first round, please call your lender and ask them, what is my status and what do I need to submit the application, the forgiveness, in order for you to be able to apply for the second round.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you take the next question as I reply to one that was directed towards me.
Okay, so I have another one. I said, I thought I read that there is a sliding scale payment above 25K income where payment goes down from 600 to 0. At some level above 75K based on the bill. Any information on this? Okay, again, the stimulus check is something that is still like in the middle, like, like people are trying to, I want 600, I want 2,000, okay? The Democrats wanted the 2,000, the Republicans wanted 600, the president already signed for the 600, but they leave it into the Senate hands to make the final call. So that is still in the middle. However, in order to apply for either the 600 or the 2,000, not apply, and to receive the 600 or the 2,000, for individual have to be less than $75,000. It have to be less. If you make 75 and a penny, then you may not receive any stimulus payment. And for a couple, they file together, it has to be lower than $150,000. For example, if both of you make more than 150, they go into $155,000, you may not receive any of the stimulus payment, okay? What other question?
We have a few more. So the next one is from Juan Delgado. It says, do you know how it is that they decide by when businesses must have been open in order to qualify for the PPP? My colleague opened his barbershop the first week of March, and he has had it closed more times than it's been opened. So I think this falls in with that February 15th timeline, correct, as we go into 2021 year?
Absolutely, but let me go ahead and tell you this, and this is what I like to tell my clients as well. I mean, if there is the limit, right? You have to be open since February 15, 2020. My advice to you is call your lender. Call your lenders because they are a party involved on this, okay? So you may want to call them and say, hey, I opened in March, I have everything on paper, I have everything good, I've been working, but it's still, been negative impacted by COVID, and they may give you an intel, and they may be able to make any exception. I mean, February to March, what is weeks? So my advice to you is just go ahead and call your lender. Give them the opportunity to assist your business need with any other solution besides what the PPP already stands for, okay?
And I think that covers, Frida, kind of the next question that we have from Alejandro Alfaro, who said that he opened his business back in February 2020, but does not have any tax returns at all. Can he apply? So I think this would go into the kind of the same answer to where we really just need to contact our lenders and figure out that case-by-case scenario, correct?
Absolutely. And also, I just want to let you know, people are going to be like, why are they going to be comparing 2019 with 2020 if I haven't run my taxes? Again, that is a question for your CPA. However, this is also a learning experience, with the pandemic. And another learning experience is your QuickBooks. How do you manage in your books? How can you prove? I mean, the program is until March, and we're going to be doing the taxes, in the middle of January into April. I mean, how can I apply if I don't have my tax return for 2020? So my advice to you is go to your books, have something to prove, speak with your CPA. They might give you, a sheet or something to prove similar to your taxes. That way you can submit it. But again, it's a question for your lenders where they're going to be accepting as proof of income, okay?
Yes. And then the next question from Pamela, I think we just answered this one from somebody else. It's a common question. They used 100% of their first PPP. Do we need to apply for forgiveness before applying for a second round? The answer is yes. And I have a follow-up question for that, Frida, based off of the chat here from Amarta Marshall. She says that she has submitted for the PPP loan forgiveness, but it's still under review by the lender SBA. Can she then apply for the second PPP if that's still waiting for approval?
Okay. Um, based on my relationship with the financial institutions, based on my relationship with the financial institutions, you have to call them because they shouldn't be taking too much. The SBA portal has been open since August, okay? And we're about to end this year. So it's already like 4 months. So you have to call your lender and say, why is this taking so long? If I already submit my paperwork, why is this not being approved? You have to call them and see, because if they don't have your case closed, they cannot open another one, you know? So call them and say the SBA portal was open on August 8th of 2020. Why is not this being processed yet?
I like it. And our next question comes from Rick Salinas. So Rick is asking, how do we determine what 3 option of documents to use for the PPP loan forgiveness? And just to clarify that, they're wanting to know, how do they determine which documents to use when applying?
Okay, that's very, let me put it this way. If your loan is $150,000 or less, you are gonna be only using for the first round, okay? For the second round, they're gonna create something similar to the first application, but for the first round, if your loan is lower than $150,000, you're gonna be using the application 3508S, okay? It's 1 page. If you didn't make any change in your salary, any change in the amount of employees you have, if everything remained the same, then you're gonna be able to use that 1 page application. And then the lender is gonna ask you for your taxes. They're gonna ask you for your QuickBooks, for your payroll. They got for the checks, for any bank's accounts. They're gonna be asking you for documentation, but for the application, that will be the 3508 for lower than 150,000. If you make more than 150,000, is depending on your FTEs, you know, and how do you manage your salary, that you're gonna be able to either use a 3508 EZ or the regular one. That's a little bit more complex. But the way that you can know which application and documentation that you need to submit will have to go back to the lenders. Each lenders has their own documentation besides the SBA, okay? SBA is gonna use this, but then the lender is gonna need, in order for them, because the lenders are making money out of this, so they're gonna be needing to prove them, you know, also how do they manage the program. So best advice or best practice, call your lender and see what suits your business better.
Absolutely. And the next question here, this one's coming from our Facebook live stream right now. What if we use the PPP only for payroll? Is that an issue?
Nope, no. And actually that for me will be like a go-go, okay? If you use 100%, that means that you don't have to worry about a thing, okay? For people that use a 40% window, then they have to make sure that they use a 60%. When you try to divide 100, you have to make sure that you're within the 40-60% rule. But if you use 100%, you're good to go, as long as you can prove it.
Easy peasy. Okay, I like this next question because this goes in part with some of the new things that are rolling out with the stimulus bill. So Manuel Castañeda is asking, can he apply for a loan? And the reason being, he's a small company that contracts work from other companies. He has 5 contractors that work with him.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Davidson, let me go ahead and answer that, because that's what I see a lot with my clients. As long you can you can ask for the PPP, as long as you have less than 300 employees under your W-2s. If you're self-contractors and you have an electrician, a plumber, or someone else, but they're 1099s, you cannot claim them because they're not under your payroll. You pay them for that job, but they're not part of your W-2s. They're not your unique employees. However, they can go ahead and do it by themselves. So if you're a self-contractor and you have different 1099s, encourage them to apply for the PPP by themselves.
Yep, and that's something new that's rolled out with the stimulus packages, that the 1099s can apply, the freelancers and so forth. So if you fall within that category, you know, encourage your employees that are labeled as such on that tax breakdown, that they are eligible to apply for this round of funding. Now, the next question that we have here states, is additional support for certified minority business owner business provided? I don't know if that made sense, but I think it does.
Okay, yes. Part of the bill, again, the bill was 5,000 pages, okay? But I read and I saw in the news that for women's owned businesses with the WOP certification, they may also be able to apply for other type of grants, okay? So if you're certified as a WOPS as a woman-owned small business certification, you may apply for grants. However, that grants, they're not closed yet. I mean, again, this is still an ongoing conversation, but I saw it on the bill that businesses that are certified as a woman-owned small business, they may apply for grants. For other certification, we will have to wait until the SBA release the entire bill and guidelines for the programs.
Yes, and that goes back, Frida, to what our SBA contact, said over email this morning is by policy, they have 10 days after a bill is approved to come out with everything that, is going to be the structure of the program guides, rollouts, and everything. So we should be seeing a lot of content coming out in the next week and a half in terms of what has the SBA decided to do. So that's really where you just need to stay connected to both of our chambers and trying to fill out, what's coming next and what's open and so forth. Now, the next question that we have here, this is a good one too. People with an ITIN number, can they qualify for the PPP?
Okay, for that one is very specific. That will have to go under the lender's discretion. ITIN numbers give you like a social security for you to pay taxes, okay? So you are legal to work here and you have that number. However, it will have to go under that lender's discretion, okay? The SBA does not specify if you can, if you can't. The only thing is that if you are legal to work here, you can go ahead and do it. But again, you will have to go and double check with your lender and do it. And go and try to obtain any information from them. And I would like to go ahead and say this again. I have an answer from a lot of a question from clients and say, what if my bank said no to me? Can I go ahead and apply to another bank? The question is yes. You can apply to many financial institutions. My advice is do not do it all the time. I mean, you don't want to have 20 open cases, okay? But if you once say no, you may go ahead and apply to another one. However, you can only receive the money once, okay? If the 20 of them decide to say yes, you cannot receive 20 deposits. You can only receive one. So if you receive the first one, you have to go and tell the other 19 no, okay? Otherwise, you will fall into fraud.
Mm-hmm. It's very tricky, guys. I know we have a few minutes left. I want to get to this last question that I see here. This question is by Jared Hornsby. He says, thank you both for this great presentation. We have exhausted our PPP loan. Our lender said they are not processing the smaller loans yet. Regarding the second PPP loan, our lender said they do not yet have the guidelines from the SBA on what they will need or what the program will look like. The lender expects direction by late January.
Right.
When they have the information from the SBA, then they will know if they will be participating or not in the new round of funding. As a small business, what should we do now?
Okay, so again, on the first round, all the financial institutions participated, right? On this second one, we are not 100% sure that all will be participated national-wide, okay? Again, it's under the lender's discretion. I mean, SBA is expecting for all of them to participate, however, is not mandatory, okay? So, but if your bank said, no, we are not gonna participate on the second round, this goes into what I said before, you can go ahead and apply. But if you're not sure where, go ahead and give us a call. If you're in Fort Worth, go ahead and call Mrs. Davidson. If you're here in El Paso, call us. Or even if you're outside, we get calls from California, New York. We get calls from everywhere. And if you don't have a question, if you have a question and you don't have an answer, give us the opportunity to support you with that. We will go ahead and do our best to get a list of available lenders that will be participating as soon as SBA release the programs and open it for you to apply. However, what small businesses can do, call your lender, call your primary bank and say, hey, quick question, are you guys going to be supporting the PPP? Oh, no, we won't. Okay, don't worry. And then shop around. Go and see what other financial institution will be available to support you.
Absolutely. Well, I think that covers a lot of our questions today. I know another common question is that people really just want a copy of this presentation. So we are more than happy to do that on both sides of our chambers in order to get that out to our membership and our prospective community and so forth. But I think this has been really great, Frida. I totally appreciate you. I've known you for a while, and it's fun always partnering up with the El Paso Hispanic Chamber because it's a little bit of my heart and home. So I hope that this has been helpful for everybody that's really joined us here today.
Absolutely. Our pleasure, Mrs. Davidson, to have you aboard. We always like to share and to partner with the other Hispanic chambers. We are here. We understand it's only one business community that make our country the greatest country ever. So we have to partner and be together on this. So once again, your El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce can go ahead and help you to submit your PPP or EIDL or any other program available to support your business. If you have any question, if you have any concern, if you just want to talk, and just take everything out of your chest, we can also assist you with that. We're here to support you. We know the time are difficult, a lot of challenges, but you're not alone. So let us be there with you. Let's cry, let's talk, let's smile, let's success together.
Absolutely. Well, Frida, thank you. And thank you to the El Paso Hispanic Chamber for everybody that's joined us from the Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber. Our team of 5 is mighty and small, but we're here to help you as well. And so it's always fun working with bigger teams like the El Paso Hispanic Chamber because they just have a wealth of knowledge that I love to learn from and take back to our Fort Worth community. So thank you, everybody. We hope you have a great Tuesday. And again, we have our contact information out there. If you have any questions for either of our chambers and need help with anything further, we're here for you.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for tuning up today and be expecting for upcoming events. Take care, El Paso. Thank you, everybody.